No, I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
We want to welcome Harout Nercessian with us, our distinguished speaker. And we regret that he's not able to be with us in person. However, as we have adjusted for the last several years, we have Zoom for us is almost as in person. So we're so grateful that you're willing to do this and lead this class in this fashion. We regret that you're not able to be here in person, but this is almost as good. So thank you so much for leading the class today. And I'm going to start us with a word of prayer, and then I'm going to share our speaker's biography so that we have a little bit of background, and then we'll get started. Let's pray. Good and gracious God, you are Lord of the universe. And we thank you that we can set aside this time today to think about your people on the other side of the globe who are in special need, who have been persecuted for a good portion of their civilization, and ask, Lord, that as we learn, as we discuss, as we listen, ask, Lord, that you move in our lives in ways that cause us to act and cause us to think about how best we can love you and love others. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Harout Nercessian was born into an Armenian evangelical family in Beirut, Lebanon, where his family were active members at First Armenian Evangelical Church. And he attended the Armenian Evangelical College from kindergarten through 11th grade. In 1976, due to the Lebanese Civil War, he and Harout and his mother emigrated to Canada, where he pursued a degree in electrical engineering at McGill University, and later worked in the emerging IT industry for 14 years. In Montreal, he became involved with the First Armenian Evangelical Church of Montreal, where he led the young adults group and later served as the church treasurer. Following Armenia's independence, Harout traveled there in 1991 and 1995 to lead AMAA youth camps. And in 1996, he moved to Armenia with his family at the invitation of the AMAA to serve with the organization. And in 2011, he was appointed AMAA representative in Armenia, a role he fulfilled until 2022. So after 26 years of ministry in Armenia, Harout returned to Canada in September 2022 to serve as the AMAA representative in Canada. He is married to Salpi Badakian Nercessian and is the father of 4 children. We are honored that you are with us, Harout, and I want to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Pastor Emily. The honor is mine, and it's a delight to be here with you this morning. Again, I apologize for not being there in person because I've been fighting this stubborn flu. I'm still coughing, and this morning I took some medication to control my cough, but God willing, I'll be doing well. And again, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here among you this morning, electronically, to lead the adult education class. And I want to thank Reverend Andrea for enabling this event. And I also want to thank Sonia for her support and assistance. She's been a great help. And also thank you to James for setting up the technical aspect. And in a few minutes, I will make this PowerPoint presentation about the AMA's work around the globe. And I will focus on AMA's support for the people of Artsakh who have lost everything and now they are in Armenia to rebuild their shattered lives. And I just want to thank the Potomac Presbyterian Church. You are a very mission-minded church, and mission-minded, mission-hearted, and you've taken interest in the plight of Armenians. especially in Artsakh. You've taken interest, you've donated, you've been advocate along with PCUSA, and I'm fully aware, cognizant of that, and much appreciated. You know, when churches like you support us, we feel that we're not alone. And that's very, very precious. And during my presentation, I will give you an opportunity to sponsor a child from Artsakh in Armenia. And Sonia will help you with that later on. Um, so, with having said that, let me start the presentation. It's about 25 to 30 minutes. I hope that I can grab your attention. And so we call this event AMA Sunday, and AMA impacts lives in the name of Christ. Now, who are we? We are an Armenian Christian Missionary Association. We were established by the Armenian Evangelical Churches in North America back in 1918 in Worcester, Massachusetts. And we offer our partners primarily in North America, also in Europe, an opportunity to make a difference. And they make a difference in the lives of people. We serve we used to serve in 24, now Artsakh gone, it's 23 countries around the globe. Our primary focus right now is Armenia and the Middle East, where people are suffering most. But we also have programs in North America, such as scholarship for university students and other programs in North America and in other countries. Now, when you think about the AMA, think that you bless somebody and you are blessed in return. When you bless somebody, you are blessed in return. Please look at this image. And this image is a ladder. It's on the wall of one of our show centers. I'll be talking about this center later on. And it's about these centers, these show centers serve destitute children from broken families often. They come with the emotional baggage, all kinds of problems, fears, anxieties. And we have teams of professionals, educators, psychologists, social workers who help the children. And this picture, I show it all the place, all over. It depicts this show child who comes from a very difficult background, climbing up the ladder on the arms of the social workers at the show centers. And these are the social workers, the real people you see on the side of the ladders. It's their arms that the child is climbing. And this is in sync with what God does. You can read this in Psalm. It says, He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. God is the God of the poor, the widow, the orphan. And AMAA, we have 4 pillars of operation: humanitarian and relief and aid. We have education, which is our largest segment. We have youth programs and church support and evangelism. These are the 4 areas, the 4 pillars in which we operate. Now, let me talk to you a little bit briefly about show. And these parts will be brief before I focus on Artsakh, because that's the focus of today's presentation. And AMA Show empowers disadvantaged children to hope and aim for a brighter future. And we provide psychological services, social work. We teach them communications and more, and we help them overcome their fears, complexes, anxieties. And often we have to work with the mothers because the mothers themselves are abused. And that's why the children often are abused and the mothers cannot operate normally. So this is what the Show Center does. The other project that's very close to my heart is our Armenian Evangelical Secondary School of Anjar. Anjar is an Armenian village, the only Armenian village in Lebanon. It's close to the Syrian border. And it provides high quality education. And the leaders are Reverend Akbasharian and his wife Nanur Akbasharian. They're dedicated, committed. Hagop was destined to become a doctor, but then he felt the call of God and went into Christian ministry. They're a dedicated team and they love the Lord and they're love-driven and they're competent, creative, and they're also very entrepreneurial. And as I said, the school provides state-of-the-art K-12 education, provides emotional intelligence, character formation. But what touches me most about this school is their boarding school, which houses, again, destitute, abused, and unwanted children. These are the two sections of the boarding school. One is for boys, one is for girls. And as I said, these children come from dysfunctional families, broken families, and often they are unwanted. And these are some of the boarding school children. And when I went there, the children came to me and they're desperate for love. And they don't get much at home, none at all. And here they provide the best that they could. Now, let me tell you about the story of CS. I will not give out her name. And she was, I think, 2 or 4 when she was brought to the boarding school. Her parents were going through a divorce or whatever. And a year later, her mother comes and yanks her out of the school and takes her home to be with her. And a few months later, this CS, the daughter, very smart girl, I think she must have been 5 years old at the time, she takes her mother's phone secretly, texts Nanor, the director of the boarding school, and says, please rescue me from this place. And the principal and Nanor spent 3 days in Beirut trying to convince her because she was living in a brothel with her mother. And the girl couldn't take it. It was an impossible situation. And these are some of now this is a very extreme case. Not all children are like this. But this gives you an idea what kind of children they're dealing with. Let me briefly move to Syria. Now, there was a 10-year war. There was poverty, runaway inflation. And the worst is that the future is uncertain. Now, the new revolutionaries seem okay, but they're ISIS people. Their roots are in ISIS, so nobody knows the future. But the evangelical church in Syria, we have several of them, are operating full force. And this is Reverend Harout Nercessian on the left, you see, and he's a hero. When the revolution happened, he was in Europe and visiting churches and talking about Syria. And he decided to go back at the risk of his life soon after the revolution. Everybody advised him not to go. He goes back to lead the community. For in my eyes, he's a hero. And this is our Bethel Church in Aleppo. And here, the Aleppo Church, with AMA's support, we provide food because there's extreme poverty in Syria. There's a runaway inflation. The Syrian currency is devaluated by probably 80, 90%. And people cannot afford meat often, most of them. So AMAA provides them with food and clothing and whatever else that they need. We do it through the church. Just to give you an idea, in most places, AMAA operates through the local churches. It's only in Armenia that we have an office and staff where we operate through our office, but we closely cooperate with the evangelical church there. These are some of the services the church provides: medical services, dental services. It's all free of charge. And they bring joy to the children with Christmas gifts. And because the children suffer most under these circumstances, because they don't understand what's going on. And this is their Sunday school, and many children come to Sunday school. And again, often the parents don't come. Now, because of the situation, people are seeking God, so they're coming to church as well. This is our Bethel school. My wife has taught in this school. My wife is from Aleppo, and she's taught in this school. And here the children take a break from the dismal atmosphere at home and come and learn and have a good time. Now, these are children that you can sponsor. And Sonia was supposed to have the children's cards at home yesterday, but for some reason it didn't arrive. But she will have them next weekend. If you want to sponsor a child from Artsakh, she will have, I think, 10 children who will need sponsors. It is $300 per year. And the money goes to the mother, and she will take care of the children's needs. These are 10 Artsakh children that right now they need sponsors. And if you're interested in sponsoring a child, please approach Sonia after the event, and next Sunday she can bring you the card of the child. Okay. And this is another program that we have. It's the Armenian Children's Milk Fund. And because formula is prohibitively expensive in Armenia, and often mothers, especially outside of Yerevan, they cannot, outside the capital Yerevan, they cannot afford. So AMAA provides infant formula to 600 children a year, and we give it up to 12 months old, so that otherwise the children grow severely malnourished, because mothers often, they cannot afford infant formula. Now I'm going to take a short commercial break, and I want to advertise the medical mission to Armenia. It's a 15-year-old program. We started this with the leadership of Dr. Albert Phillips. He's in the right, you see in the blue medical coat, a medical shirt. And they go to Armenia for a week. They split the team into three. They have doctors, medical doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and volunteers, about 50 people. And our doctors in Armenia joined them. And within a year, last year, they saw 1,400 patients. And they give them a year's medication. They check their blood, their urine, whatever is needed. And they also pray. These are Christians, doctors, and they pray with the patients, those who want. And the patients wait for them every year. It's an incredible. So if there are doctors at Potomac Presbyterian Church, we encourage them to go. This year's medical mission is June 26, July 6. And if you're interested, please give your name to Sonia. Medical professionals can go, and other volunteers are also accepted because they need bodies to carry boxes and all that. We send lots of medication from abroad, and patients prefer medications that we provide from abroad rather than the locally made or Russian-made medication. They say the ones we take here locally, they're not effective. but what comes from outside, they're effective. So this is a really worthwhile, and I encourage doctors, medical professionals, and others to apply. Now, back to regular programming. Now I want to focus about Artsakh. And as you know, the people of Artsakh experienced excruciating pain, unspeakable pain and suffering. This is a timeline of what happened. September 2020, the Artsakh was attacked, and there was the 44-day war. And a third of Artsakh was taken by Azerbaijan. And all refugees, tens of thousands, came to Armenia. But then they went back. Once there was peace signed on November 9, they went back. December 12, 22, 2 years later, Azerbaijan blockaded Artsakh. The single road that connected the lifeline of Artsakh, that connected Armenia to Artsakh, was blocked. And the Russians didn't help. They were supposed to protect, but they didn't. So severe shortages of food, fuel, medicine, everything. And people of Artsakh grew thin and thin and thin. Probably some died of hunger, we don't know. And September 19, 2023, 10 months later, Azerbaijan attacks this desperate nation. And the next day, Artsakh capitulates, they surrender, and the following days, the entire population of over 100,000, they move back to Armenia. It takes them 2 days. The 2-hour journey takes them 2-3 days. Imagine, with children in cars, and often they close the border. The Azeris close the border for 2-3 hours. Just, capricious, just to give these people a hard time. And children are hungry, people are bored, they're stuck on the road. I know because I've spoken with people. I was in Armenia. I spoke with family. I'm going to show you some pictures. So right now we have, and then there was the explosion, and now we have 100,000 displaced people in Armenia needing help. Here's a
Growing
short
up in the
video.
Varuhas village of Martigurt in Artsakh, John enjoyed a happy childhood filled with laughter and adventure. On September 19th, 2023, Azeri shells rained down on his village, forcing 8-year-old John, his mother Inara, and his 5 siblings to flee overnight on foot to a nearby village. They could not carry any belongings, not even their family pictures or memorabilia. The next day, they were taken to Stepanakert in the back of a military truck. The 2-hour journey to the town of Goris lasted over 60 hours. The unending journey, along with 50 other people, was exhausting. Throughout the grueling journey, thoughts of her husband Sarkis's safety tormented Inara. He was a soldier dangerously stationed on the border. Where is he? Is he safe? Will we ever see him again? The Red Cross later took the Arostamians to the AMAA's Shin Shohig camp in Honkovan, where they arrived physically exhausted and emotionally drained. The family was welcomed by the comforting smiles of the AMAA and the evangelical church staff. The AMAA sheltered the Arostamians for 4 months and provided them with rest, hot meals, clothing, and hygienic products, enabling the family to recover from the devastating trauma. As the family was settling in AMAA's camp, God miraculously saved Sarkis's life from certain death. He was able to evade the fate of his fellow soldiers and break through the enemy siege. He later joined his family at AMAA's Honkovan camp. The story of John and his family is part of a centuries-long pattern of displacement and oppression that has plagued the people of Artsakh. Artsakh has historically been an integral part of Armenia, dating back to the 6th century BC. The 121 monasteries and churches scattered throughout the country attest to the rich spiritual and cultural heritage of this blood-soaked land. In violation of their rights, Joseph Stalin placed Artsakh under the administration of Azerbaijan. Worried for their safety, the Armenians of Artsakh demanded independence. The 4-year War of 1991 ensued, and the Artsakhi people secured their independence. The Armenian Missionary Association of America launched its Artsakh ministries in 1995. Over the next decades, AMAA's humanitarian, educational, Christian, cultural, and youth programs enriched the lives and minds of thousands of Artsakhi children and adults. The child sponsorship program provided financial and medical aid. Mothers unable to breastfeed received infant formula. 4 AMAA kindergartens provided quality preschool education. Destitute children with emotional and behavioral problems received hope-inspiring education and psychological care at AMAA's 2 Shog Day centers. Every summer, hundreds of children and youth enjoyed unforgettable camp fun, worshiped God, and were delighted by the Christian love experienced at AMAA's Bedrosian camp in Shushi. 25 years later, everything changed. The 44-day war of 2020 shattered the relative peace and caused unimaginable loss and suffering. Over 5,000 Armenian soldiers were martyred, leaving behind a carnage of wailing widows, inconsolable mothers, and helpless orphans. Having lost everything, tens of thousands of elderly men, women, and children poured into Armenia in search of safety and peace. The AMAA provided shelter, food, medicine, and winter clothing to thousands of uprooted people. Hundreds of families received rent subsidies and cash gifts to meet daily needs. The Empower an Artsakh Family program provided small business grants and scholarships to dozens of families. Many Artsakhis achieved financial independence and restored their personal dignity. The deployment of Russian peacekeepers following the ceasefire of November 10, 2020, gave a sense of security to the people of Artsakh. Many returned to their homes. The AMAA renovated the war-damaged homes of 16 families. 1,000 children received sets of complete winter outfits and children's Bibles. Children received educational software-loaded tablets. The relative peace was short-lived. Blinded by centuries-old hatred of Armenians, the enemy poured fuel over the fire of Armenian suffering. On December 12, 2022, Azerbaijan imposed a blockade on Artsakh, cutting it off from the outside world. Severe shortages of food, medicine, fuel, and other necessities ensued. Life came to a standstill. During these excruciatingly trying months, God's grace enabled the AMAA to alleviate the suffering. AMA offices, kindergartens, educational centers, and other services remained fully operational. 3 kindergartens and 2 after-school Shog Day centers continue to educate and feed their children. The AMAA Artsakh Camp program provided a reprieve from depressed home atmospheres. Incredibly, God pierced the impenetrable Azari blockade, allowing the AMAA to bring in much-needed infant formula. Hundreds of babies were saved from malnutrition. To feed its insatiable hunger for Armenian suffering, on September 19, 2023, the enemy launched an unexpected military offensive, bombing villages and violently killing innocent villagers, including school children. The mass exodus of the entire population ensued. 104,000 Artsakh citizens arrived in Armenia, with eyes screaming emotions of abandonment, betrayal, and bewilderment. Orphaned children were confused and could not understand why mommy and daddy were not around. AMAA and ECA staff welcomed the exhausted arrivals, served them hot meals, and provided rest. Hundreds were directed to AMAA facilities where they received shelter, food, and spiritual support. Thousands of others were assisted with life necessities. Having been robbed of everything and choked with misery and pain, the people of Artsakh needed to rebuild their shattered lives. The AMA responded with Project Revive. For the short term, Project Revive offers spiritual support, psychological aid, rent subsidies, and temporary shelters and necessities to thousands of Artsakhis. For the long term, Project Revive empowers the people of Artsakh to secure housing and earn income. It restores their financial independence and personal dignity and supports farmers to obtain land and equipment. The AMAA helps families to relocate to a designated village in Armenia where they can restore the lifestyle and bonds of their original villages in Artsakh. Under the indifferent gaze of the international community, the people of Artsakh have endured illegal occupation, brutal violence, and debilitating insecurity. They have been stripped of their inalienable right to live peacefully in their historic homeland. The brave people of Artsakh deserve peace and comfort in their new homeland. The AMAA is by their side and determined to revive them to create the pleasant and peaceful lives that is long overdue to them.
Միասին Արցախահայության կողքին.
Together with the Armenians of Artsakh.
Was the video clear? The sound?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, just to give you an idea, I mean, you saw what Project Revive does. And we've given gift cards. This is a one-time thing, $500,000, depending on how large the family is. And we help them with small businesses, agricultural grants, vocational training. And we also provide housing so that they can get back to their normal lives as much as possible. This is a family in Goris, southern Armenia, that I visited, and the Hampartsumian family. They are from Askeran region. They have 5 children. Now, presently, they're in Goris, and they had traumatic experiences in Artsakh. They lost their home in the 2020 war, and during the blockade, they were hungry. But they testified, the mother told me that the children were going to show, 2 of their children were going to AMA show and AMA kindergarten in Askeran, and they were very well fed. The family was hungry, but the 2 children and the mother was very, very grateful. And when the mass exodus happened, they lost everything. Now, this is an entrepreneurial family, especially the mother. We sent the mother to special training. We bought them chicken. Now they have 1,000 chicken farm, and they have a large backyard, the house that they've rented, and they're growing food for their own consumption and also for selling. So they're on their way to self-sufficiency. Now, this is another family, and they have 7 children. I visited them. They're in a Vartaplur village near Stepanovan in northern Armenia. And again, they went through similar traumatic experience. and they lost everything. They were farmers in Artsakh. And here's a small talk that the father is giving about his experiences with the AMA.
Yote hapa շատ հեշտ է։ Հալամ 7 քիչ։ 7 քիչ։ Անասնապահությամբ կզբաղվեք ասալամ հայո։ Ասում ես Ղարաբաղից եմ անասնապահությունով զբաղվել։
Ղարաբաղից եմ տեղահանված։ Ես ամուսինս մեկի 7 երեխաները։ Տեղափոխված բնակվում ենք Վարդապլուր գյուղում։
Երակով եմ ապայից, ոչխարներ, խոզեր, բոլոր թողել եմ եկել ստեղ, մենք ստեղ ուզում որ անասնապահությունով զբաղվեմ ինչ եմ։ Այդ արանչականից կերենք ստանում, գովառան, խոզեր առանք, հատա հավեր առանք, ջտեր առեցի։
And this is another family from Martuni, and they relocated to the village of Davush, and we're bringing more families from Artsakh to the Davush region so that they can live together. They feel, more at ease in a familiar, with familiar faces, and we're helping them renovate their homes, and we gifted them with a tractor so that they could earn money with this tractor. And here you see the child is proud about the tractor, and the mother is finally smiling after several years of unable to smile. This is Mother Shushanik. And here we have a Sarajanov family with 7 children. AMA bought and renovated a house for them. And this is another family with 3 children. And here's a handicapped man. And all these 3 families, they received housing from the AMA. And we invite you to participate in God's mission with us, to make a difference, to touch lives. And you can follow us on social media. We invite you to pray for us. You can share our concerns with others, and you can volunteer. You can visit. We invite you to visit Armenia, and our people will be more than happy to show you around. And you can visit our mission centers, and you can give sacrificially as well. Time, money, effort, whatever you can give. And when I think about the AMA, I also think about Jesus. Every time we help somebody, we're helping Jesus. That's it. Thank you very much. If you have any comments, questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. All
Thank
right,
you very
Alex.
Other than the Project Revive, which is focused on the Armenians of Artsakh, what's the proportion of people you serve who are not Armenian or not Christian, or if any?
Well, as I said, we focus on, I'll be honest, we focus primarily on Armenians because we're called to reach out to Armenians. And we focus on, Armenia is 99% Armenians. So we help them. Armenia also has gone through a lot. And also in the Middle East, we help our Armenian communities. There are some non-Armenians who receive help, but the numbers are not significant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Diane.
Is there any hope or efforts underway to get the United Nations to reverse its position, which the United States has supported, that Artsakh doesn't have a right to exist as a separate country within Azerbaijan? Is there any hope at all? This is such a tragic situation since it's their traditional lands.
Yeah, there's always hope. And the political winds easily change and shift. under the current political atmosphere, I don't see it happening. But you never know. Times can change, interests can change. And Azerbaijan, just look at the number statistics. It's an extremely corrupt country. It's at the bottom, I don't know, 20, 30 of corrupt nations among 153 nations on the United Nations. And it's a dictator. And Aliyev wants to keep the war going. So he has legitimacy. He's a dictator and he's not legitimate in power. So he needs a war, just as Putin needs the war, so that he can remain in power. Otherwise, people will revolt against them. And so under the current situation, I don't see that happening. But history changes, political winds change, and nobody knows about the future. So there's always hope.
Sonia.
Harout, thank you very much. I thought your presentation was excellent. I just wanted to mention, this might be unnecessary and perhaps even insulting, but for those who are preoccupied with watching other world news events, the Armenian word for Artsakh, we Armenians know Artsakh as Artsakh, but perhaps most of you heard it in the news as Nagorno-Karabakh.
Yes,
In
that
case
is correct.
you make that connection.
Thank
Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Sonia, for clarifying that. Yes, it's Nagorno-Karabakh historically, and it's a Russian Turkish. Karabakh, it means black stone in Turkish. So that's the historic name, but the real name is Artsakh. The Russian name was Nagorno-Karabakh. It's a region, and but the Armenian true historic name is Artsakh.
And these events escaped our notice because when all of this was happening, the world barely noticed because Russia was preoccupied with Ukraine. And I mean, it just, most people didn't even.
Correct. That is very correct, because when Azerbaijan attacked Russia, you know what Azerbaijan does? They're very shrewd. They buy Russian oil, sell it to the Europeans as if it's their oil. And so that Russia turns around, or this is a loophole, and he can get away with the sanctions. Nobody will buy directly from Russia, but Azerbaijan provides that service. So Putin owes Aliyev, and that's why he allowed them to attack, because they were not allowed to, and Russians were supposed to be there to protect Artsakh people, Nagorno-Karabakh people. So that's why I say political wind, the wind shifted. Putin attacked, and he needed Aliyev. That's why this happened.
Turkey.
And to be honest, we were fighting Turkey. 15 days before the war, I was with the Minister of Defense because we brought in medical equipment for the Ministry of Defense. And he told me, and Turkey and Azerbaijan were doing joint military exercises. This is 2 weeks before the war. He told me, Harout, he said, if Artsakh attacks, I can smash him like this. But Turkey, he said, it's a different story. Turkey has one of the largest NATO armies, probably the second or third largest. And Armenia cannot stand against Turkey. And Turkey, with their drones and so on, Armenians couldn't survive. Yeah.
Bob.
Yes, I was interested. Thank you for your presentation. I thought it was very good. I'm curious as to the AMAA mission in Armenia and Ashok and these areas. Are they threatened? Is your mission threatened to some extent by these attackers from these other places? How safe is your mission in terms of the help that you're trying to provide?
Within Armenia, we're very safe because the Armenian government really, really appreciates us. Because, I mean, we've received thank you letters from them because we're very responsive. They sent us families that need help. We immediately respond. As long as Armenia is safe, our mission is safe. But if there's a war tomorrow and Azerbaijan attacks southern Armenia, we have 3 offices in southern Armenia. That narrow strip, it's called Syunik, which is what Aliyev calls, he wants the Zangezur corridor. And he wants to take over the southern Armenia. But if he does that, of course, our southern mission will suffer. I don't know what will happen. I mean, we have to close it, I guess, if that happens. But for now, we are very safe. As long as Armenia is safe, we are safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, if I may, a second question. Do you serve Armenian communities in the region, like in Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Turkey, Iran?
Yes. We have 2 churches in Turkey. Right now, it's a long history. There's Camp Armen and Reverend Hrant Dink, not Reverend Hrant Dink, Reverend Güzelyan ran that camp in Turkey for many years. And they brought in orphaned Armenians from the interior of Turkey. They were being Islamicized. And Reverend Güzelyan, he went in those regions, brought them. Eventually, he was imprisoned for that, and the Turkish government took over the camp. Interestingly, several years ago, they gave the camp back. Now, with AMA support, we are rebuilding Camp Armen, and it's going to be a modern technology building to serve Armenians in Turkey. Yes, we serve Armenians in the Middle East, including Turkey. Egypt, not many Armenians are left in Egypt. In Turkey, they're mostly in Istanbul, some 60,000. And we basically help them with Christian literature. They don't need really financial aid as much. And we have a school in our Gedik Pasha Church that runs it. It's for Armenia refugees in Turkey who are there working. And they're illegal in Turkey, but they are there working. They're not being deported. But their children cannot go to school because they don't have any documents. So the Hrant Dink School in Turkey helps these children and provides them good education, free of charge again. So this is another example. I mean, I could keep talking about these programs all over, but this is an example of what we do in Turkey.
One more question.
John,
Do you receive any aid from the U.S. government?
No, we don't apply, and we don't, because if you apply to the US government or any, and not even Armenia government, it comes with a baggage of demands and impositions. And no, we don't.
Don't you think you would if they attacked Armenia? Don't you think the UN at that point would have to get involved? Right now, they're not involved because of their previous decision back in the 80s about this land, basically giving it to Azerbaijan. But if they attacked Armenia, that would definitely, wouldn't it be a violation?
is that a question, Diane?
Yeah.
Are you
would
asking
they
a
get
question?
involved, the United Nations?
You're asking if the United Nations,
would step up.
It would have to take, which in turn might bring US or other nations in.
Question, or you asking?
are you asking?
Yeah, would they get involved? In other words, they haven't helped, right, in Artsakh, in defending Artsakh. But would they get involved if they attacked Armenia?
No foreign country will send soldiers to defend Armenia. Right now, the Europeans are there. They have border observers. They're unarmed. They're not soldiers. They just are there observing. And since they arrived and Azerbaijan is totally opposed to this, the European Union offered to do the same at the Azerbaijani end. They refused. Now they just observe the border and they report any incidents. And interestingly, since they've arrived, there hasn't been any single incident of cross-border firing or attacks. So so that's how the Europeans are helping. And recently, Armenia signed a treaty of cooperation with the Biden administration. This was the last few days of the Biden administration. Armenia and Blinken, the former Secretary of State, they signed an agreement. And the United States provided support, financial primarily, to Armenia, and logistic support and trainings. Now, I don't know how the Trump administration will handle that. We hope that they will honor that treaty.
I have a question about the child sponsorships.
Yes.
That you, and you showed us some of the pictures of the children. So that is that, and you said the money goes directly to the parent?
Yes, to the mother, yeah.
Is it through AMAA? So
Yes.
is it an online, we would send an online donation?
You
to
send the
AMAA?
donation. Right now you can do online or you can give it to Sonia. $300
But I mean,
a
I'm
year.
a little concerned about giving it to Sonia. I guess that's my, I don't trust her. I'm just thinking for facilitation, it's how to, when you say give it to Sonia, I'm just wondering.
No, just give your name and your coordinates, and next Sunday she will bring the child's card to you. You can see what child it is. You can donate online, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was
It's amaa.org, and the full money goes to the mother. We trust the mother far more than the father. Sorry for the fathers. In Armenia, there's a cultural.
If we wanted to, would you continue this relationship with this child, or is it a different child each year that you're sponsoring?
It's the same child until the child becomes 18.
Okay.
Okay, so this is sort of similar to the Quito, the school that we did with them. Yeah. Okay, and I feel like for logistics, it's just easier not to give you money. I don't want. You don't want money, right? No. That's what I was thinking. No. Yeah. Okay.
She just needs to know the donor so that when the money arrives online, they will match the donor with the child.
Hard. That's what Sonia has. Okay.
And is there overseeing from the AMAA to see that the funds are well used? Is there a follow-up with the mother?
I will tell you what the child receives. I've been in Armenia for 26 years, and I ran this operation myself. I mean, I had staff doing it. $300 US, the equivalent in Armenian francs, is given to the mother directly, the full amount. Plus, the child receives full medical care. We take care of her medical bills and expenses. There is no insurance in Armenia. There's no free medical care. So we take care of the child, and often the mother and other family members as well, because the mother's health affects the child. And on top of that, the child goes to camp, summer camp with the AMAA. The child comes to AMA Center to get services. They can come to Sunday school. They can go to educational classes, whatever's available in that area. So you give $300, but the child receives a lot more than that. And a social worker visits them regularly to see how they're doing, provides all kinds of help. This is the child sponsorship program.
Does the donor get any feedback from the family?
You receive a letter from the child once a year at least.
We have a question.
And we encourage, and sorry, we also encourage you to write back to the child. And we translate into Armenian. The Armenia office does that. And we also want to monitor the letters so that they will not ask the donor for any money. We don't allow them to do that. It's not nice. So they just give information about the child. If the child is old enough, the child writes. If they're not, he or she is not, the mother writes the letter. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I can answer some of these questions too, because I've been a donor for many years.
You want to introduce yourself?
Excuse me?
Will you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Monique Beluzikian.
Oh, you're Monique. Hi, Monique. It's great that you are there. I'm glad to see you.
Yes, we met before in Armenia, but that was many years ago.
Do you live in Potomac, Monique? Are you local? You're local?
Silver Spring.
Silver Spring. Okay.
So I started sponsoring a child many years ago, and we sponsor until the age of 16, I believe.
Now it's 18.
And then after that, you get another child, and I'm number 7 or 8 by now. And so we get a letter, like you said, we get a letter in Armenian and a letter. The letter is also translated in French. We get pictures of the kids, and I love getting those pictures. We see them grow, and in many ways grow up and grow. And they talk about in the letters, the mother or whoever writes the letter talks about what the AMAA mission really means to them, in terms of food, in terms of giving them some hope, and it is really making a difference for the family and particularly for the child. We also have the opportunity to write to the child through the AMA, of course, and I try to do it not always on schedule, but apparently it's an important thing too for the family and the child to have this unknown person respond to them. So it has been for me an extremely rewarding mission.
Thank you for sharing that.
So I don't send a check every month, of course. It's taken out from my bank account every month.
Great. Thank you for clarifying and sharing your firsthand experience.
Let me share another. Sorry, go ahead, Monique.
In my family, we have many members, at this point, cousins and children of cousins who sponsored children, more than one. So that's a challenge to me.
Nice.
All
right,
and please allow me. When you visit Armenia, we encourage you to visit the sponsored child. You can visit them in their home, or they can come to you at your hotel or wherever you're staying. We will arrange that.
I did
have
that
one last question.
and it was really an eye-opener. The place where they lived had no heat, for example. It was really very touching to see them And I had 2 suitcases with me, which I had filled with clothing. And it's just there that the suitcases and the clothing, and they were speechless.
Nice.
That's the input of the AMA on their lives. It's not an abstract thing.
Yeah, people to people.
A direct input.
Susan.
So, Harout, just a quick question about the mission work, the medical mission work. I'm 50% Armenian, but I'm not fluent in Armenian. I just speak Kichma. Is it possible for people who are not fluent? I mean, you have good
Absolutely.
translators for
The program, many of the staff, many of the volunteers who go, they don't even speak any Armenian. But we have translators, local translators we provide, and they go with the staff. I mean, internally, you all speak English with the patients. Are you a doctor?
nurse.
You're a nurse. Super. Please do go apply, and they need nurses, and you'll have a translator. You don't need to worry.
So we want to honor everybody's time this morning, afternoon, and want to just thank you so much for taking your time and sharing the vital ministry that is ongoing with the AMAA, and for enlightening us as to ways that we may intersect with that ministry. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Next week, sorry?
And we hope you feel better.
Yeah. Prayers for healing, health, wholeness for you, Harout. Yeah.
Thank you.
Grateful
Thank you.
for your joining us. Next week, Rob Westcott is going to be leading our class using the Wired Word curriculum. He'll let you know ahead of time what the current events topic will be. But come for a discussion and conversation about what's happening in the world and how some of what's going on intersects with our faith. All right.
Thank you. Yes, sir.